Hi everybody, and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to talk about one of the most important topics for your yard. In fact, this is a top 3 all-time tip for your yard, and that is how much water should we be putting on our yard per week. Although it has rained a crazy amount here in the Midwest over April and May, rain is not going to be enough to sustain your grass throughout the summer months, especially when it starts to get hotter in July and August. So today we're going to talk to you about how much water you actually need to put on your yard per week, and some simple ways to actually accomplish that to make sure that you can keep up and keep your grass looking green and beautiful all summer. So when it comes to rain and how much we actually want to get on our lawn per week, I'm actually trying to get about 1 inch of rain into my yard per week. So in the summer months, start thinking about July, August, as the heat starts to creep up into the 90s, into the 100s sometimes. I will bump that 1 inch up to about 1.5 inches. But what I can also say too is you definitely don't want to water too often. So not only do we want to get 1 inch to 1.5 inches of rain on our lawn per week, we also want to make sure that we're watering infrequently and watering deep. So an ideal scenario would be to water your lawn about twice a week and get about 1/2 inch into your yard to make sure that the roots in the grass plant actually chase that water down into the soil. If we water too frequently, and we're actually creating just like that surface moisture, the roots don't actually have to chase that water down. This will make the plant weak, and it will actually leave it susceptible to disease, and it probably will die off over the summer, and we definitely don't want that after all the work that we put in spring. So let's talk to you about a couple different types of sprinklers that you can use at home today. So the first type, and what I actually use here at my house, is just an in-ground irrigation system. So this obviously is the best way to water your yard. And so if you actually have an in-ground irrigation system, do know that throughout the summer, you will still have to go out and adjust your sprinkler heads multiple times throughout the season. I typically will not only tweak mine at the beginning of the season to make sure that they're aimed in the places I want them to be, but that I'm getting the correct flow rate out of the heads as well. Secondarily, if you don't have an in-ground irrigation system, good news. There's 2 simple ways that you can make sure that we're getting that inch of water on your lawn per week. If you do have a smaller lawn, I'm going to go ahead and recommend what's called an impact sprinkler. If you don't know it by name, you've definitely seen it before. It's that sprinkler that just goes back across the yard. And so an impact sprinkler is a really nice tool. In fact, you just head over to the local store, you pick one up. I'd recommend getting a yard spike, screwing it right on top, and then just putting that in a corner of your yard where you don't actually have to move it. So like I said, if you have a smaller yard and you can get away with 1 or 2 impact sprinklers, it's a really effective way to be able to cover your yard. Now, if you have a larger yard like I do, and 1 or 2 impact sprinklers isn't going to get it done for you, I would recommend using an oscillating sprinkler. Same thing, if you don't know the name, you definitely know the sprinkler. Think of it, this is the sprinkler that we used to love to run through when we were kids. It's that one that just goes front to back and actually creates that big wave throughout the yard. The great thing about an oscillating sprinkler is we can choose the width, we can choose how far we want it to lean one way. It's a great way to put water on the yard. Now, the other thing too is, now that you've kind of identified what sprinkler system you're going to use, there's one big question. How much water is actually going on down to the yard? And there's a really easy way for you to figure that out. This sounds really basic, but go in your house and get a few Tupperware containers. In fact, I'd say get about 4 or 6 of them and just put them in that sprinkler area. Set a timer on your phone for 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, come back out, take a tape measure, and just measure how much water is in those containers and see if it's spreading evenly. If you are falling short of about that 1/2 inch of water in that container in that time, set another timer for 10 minutes and come back out and see how much water you're actually putting down on your yard. But just like everything else we talk about, water needs to be measured as well. So also at this point, if you've now gotten to a point where you're like, I've got my sprinkler system, I know how much water is going down on my yard, there's 2 other simple pieces that I'm going to recommend to you. The first one is, just get a rain gauge for your yard. Just go to the store and get a plastic rain gauge. I've got 2 of them out here in the backyard. That way I actually understand how much water is falling naturally per week, and I'll make adjustments to my program based off what I've already seen here in the yard. The other piece too, and I absolutely love this tip, get smart. Go ahead and for your in-ground irrigation system, replace your old standard control box With a smart box, that'll have a huge impact. Not only are you going to be able to control it from your phone, but you can set programs from anywhere you are. You can turn on or off those programs and make sure that we are adjusting as we see a lot of rain or not enough. It's an easy way to be able to make sure that we're getting the appropriate amount of water down on the yard. Now, if you're also just going to go ahead and use your hose and use an impact sprinkler or an oscillating sprinkler, I would still recommend finding a smart control device that hooks right up to your hose spigot, and then you hook the hose up to that. The best part about that is you can control it from your phone. Same thing, because we're going to want to actually run our program from about anywhere from 5 in the morning until 10 in the morning. We want to get it earlier in the morning versus starting it late at night, because we want that water to seep down to the roots, but we also don't want to lose it after 10 o'clock as we get into the heat of the day. And if there's one other simple piece I can say, adhering to that window of putting water on your lawn between 5 in the morning or 10 a.m., hence that smart device, because I know you don't want to get up at 5 in the morning to turn your hose on and move it around. Do not water your yard at night. I see this all the time when I come home in my neighborhood. People are watering their yard, and the problem with putting all that water on the lawn late at night, while it might seem like a really good idea, it's pretty catastrophic, because that water will actually sit on the grass blade and it will create mold. So stay tuned for our future series as we talk about mold and fungus on our grass and what to avoid. So get an inch to inch and a half of water per week. Make sure that you're watering infrequently and watering deep, and then know how much water is actually going on your yard. So I hope you found this video helpful today. Thank you for joining me on my lawn. Now, go ahead and get out on yours.